Hello, Meg McKinlay here to share a few words about how to make a bird, which has delightfully winged its way onto this year's shortlist for Picture Book of the Year. This is a book that's had a very long journey to publication. I first started sending it out about 18 years ago, upon which I received rejections that said things like, "Lovely language, but this is not a picture book. Beautiful, but unillustratable. This is very odd. Children won't know how to relate to this. And this isn't a story. Can you make it narrative somehow? And perhaps not a bird. How about something more child-friendly, like a birthday or a garden?" Now, even though I was unpublished at that point and pretty keen to change that, and not particularly precious about my work, quite open to editorial suggestions, when I read these things, I thought, no. I felt quite strongly about this particular piece, that at the most essential level, it was already what it needed to be, a lyrical sort of existential thing about loss and letting go and creativity and, all kinds of other things that everyone, kids included, can definitely relate to, even if they can't necessarily articulate that, and that it was definitely illustratable if it just landed in the hands of the right person. So I felt that it was better for it to sit in the metaphorical drawer than for me to turn it into something entirely different. So that's where I put it, and it sat there for about 15 years until Lindsay Knight joined Walker Books, and she has a love of poetry and lyrical language. And also, I was just then newly agented and wondering if there was anything in the drawer I should dust off and take another look at. And so I did. And here we are. And there is so much I love about this book. But today I thought I'd just share some of my favourite pages, lines, beginning with this. "Breathe deeply and take your time. The making of a bird is not a thing to be hurried." And look, I know I wrote this, but I'm going to say it. I love the text here. I love its stillness. I love the way it breathes in keeping with what it's actually saying. I love the way it sits like a tiny poem on the page. And also its interaction with the illustration. Honestly, I'm still in a bit of a state of shock that Matt Otley agreed to illustrate this book, that we got to work together. It was the most wonderful collaboration, and this spread to me is the perfect representation of that. There's the impossible birdhouse, the vastness of the sky, the quiet purposefulness of the girl as she climbs the ladder, the way those streaky fingers of cloud with their glorious light curve above the text. Those clouds in that light, I've realised since seeing that this is the kind of sky I see from time to time at sunset across the ocean in Fremantle near my house. And for the rest of my life, when I see that, I'm going to hear a little whisper in myself that says, "Oh, that's a Matt Otley sky." If the feedback that I've been getting is any indication, this particular spread is the favourite of lots of people, but here's another little part that I love that's perhaps a bit more specific to me. It's this moment when the bird leaves and I say that it soars straight up, away and away, never once looking back. It's this never once looking back. It's the absoluteness of the bird's leaving, the fact that once it comes into its full birdness, it is truly its own self. It's not going to come back to sit on the windowsill, to check in, to visit. It's not even going to turn its head. It is truly gone. There is no concern for you as its creator. And in some ways, that is the most essential element to what you created. That is how you know that you have really made a bird. So to me, that line, "never once looking back," is absolutely key, but it's quiet, it just sits there in a little clause on the page, not drawing attention to itself, just sort of waiting for readers to notice it, if they do, and think, "Oh, yes." And if they don't, that's fine too. I'm just happy that it's there. Look, I'm so happy that this book exists, that Walker Books took a chance on this odd, unillustratable, not a picture book thing, which, despite all of that, seems to be striking a special chord with readers. So thank you to the CBCA for giving it a place also on your list.